Hey guys, new video here. Today I want to talk about the things that are coming in the next maybe week or two. Grinding Gear is back into the offices as of probably the new year, right? A lot of people were taking a holiday break. They made a post, happy holidays post and all that, and they definitely deserve the time off. But we have here the list of known issues in the game, and this is really exciting, right? Because Metamorph has been an amazing league. The Conquerors of the Atlas has been an amazing expansion, and so I want to take some time to go over each one of these points and how this will affect the game. Because when I was streaming, I noticed that a lot of players, especially new players, but also veteran players, they didn't really know what changes were coming. They didn't know that there were going to be future updates, right? They weren't used to the previous the content cycles and how Grinding Gear usually does the bug fixes and improvements to the league all the way up until the 3-week mark. So this will be a nice time to kind of get more excited, more hyped, because at the current point the league is only gonna get better. Okay, trust me, it's been amazing. There's been some nice memes and stuff, but let's get right into it. So the first thing that's going to get fixed probably after the new year in a big hot fix, or it'll probably require a pretty big download, I imagine, is that Metamorph bosses can't be frozen. So that means every single map that you get, you have the opportunity to fight a Metamorph. We all know this. We all know that they can be kind of brutal, right? Sometimes there's 9,000, 10,000, 12,000 damage, one-shotting 15,000 ES characters, one-shotting characters that have a lot of defenses. I mean, hell, even the map mods applying to them, you can kind of tell how crazy they can be, because if you ever go into Tawny's laboratory, those bosses are a joke, and those organs are created from the boss organs, right? So they should be harder, but they're really not. So this, coupled with the fact that it can't be frozen, makes it a nightmare, because these days a lot of builds, I mean, I'd even go to say maybe the majority of builds use some kind of stun/freeze mechanic. And Hyri's Ire is still very popular on the bow builds. Deck stacking, although massively nerfed, is still a thing. It's still pretty damn good. And obviously a lot of the cast on crit, Ice Nova, Frostbolt, all these ice builds rely on getting that window of opportunity to damage the Metamorph down, maybe even kill them before that the Metamorph can do too many of those powerful attacks. Because there's some bullshit out there. There's some Blade Vortex, Flicker Strike. There's some invisible Metamorphs that are underground. There's some crazy after death effects that you can't see because there's Black Nova just everywhere. And this is a huge change, huge quality of life, because if you can even freeze them, even for the minimum duration, right, and after the ailment changes and everything, that spaces out the window of opportunity that the Metamorph has to cast more spells, attack more, right? So your layers of defense and your EHP will kick in a little bit more. You have a little bit of safety there, and this will make the game actually kind of playable for a lot of people, because a lot of people just play for a week or two in the league and they quit. They get their challenges done, they get their free MTX, and so this will make it so the league actually feels kind of fair, right? You freeze the Metamorph and hopefully you kill them in the freeze window, so that your build doesn't feel so garbage. I know that my build, so for example, my build is Ice Shot, right, with Barrage as a single target, and I can melt a Conqueror within one flask charge's use, right? I use all my flasks, and even Drox, I can kill Drox through the damage reduction phase in one set of flasks. It's super easy. But some of these Metamorphs, man, it doesn't matter if I'm full crit with my Hatred Watcher's Eye, doesn't matter if I have all cold damage, I have chance to freeze, I have increased effect of chill, it does not matter. The Metamorph is just gonna booty blast you real hard, okay? So huge change coming, and once this goes in, if you're playing a cold build, the game will become a lot easier, because at this point you've invested in your character. Map bosses 14 through 16 tiers are going to be, they're going to be fine, right? All the mobs are, as we know, the trash gets cleared easily, and the Metamorph will be a little bit easier to kill as well. So that's great. Next, citadels are hidden on the Atlas when they shouldn't be. This is a big one, okay? So I'm going to show this in game right now, because I have an influence up. So you see this. You see how this zone has a citadel. These are the citadels, are basically the area where you put the watchstones in. Citadel here, citadel here, citadel right here, citadel here, citadel here, citadel right here, citadel right here, and that's great. And why are these important? Because these are where you put your sextants. You see, I have 4 sextants, 1 on each stone here. Applies to every single map here. But what happened here? Look at this. There's no sextants on here because I've been running maps in here over the 3 sextant use, and now they're gone. And if I want to re-sextant, how can I do that? I cannot, right? Obviously, when the influence spawns, it blocks the citadel. It is invisible, and that is a bug. And so when this patch goes live, where it fixes this, you will be able to both sextant and get the influence. Why is this important? Because influence is basically having 3 or 4 pack size sextants. Like, I'm just gonna estimate here. Someone else can probably like find better numbers for you. Someone that has rampage on their character can probably count them or whatever. It feels like the influence adds like 600 plus mobs if you clear the whole map. That is massive, right? Because we know from previous leagues that a pack size sextant, you can just think of it as like 200 monsters, right? So it's like having 3, maybe 4 sextants depending on the conquerors. Sometimes different conquerors feel like they spawn more because the mobs are smaller, more densely packed. Maybe the pack size on the map roll affects it. Who knows? So that stacked with the actual sextants that you'll be using plus the map mods is multiplicative, right? If you have Magic Find, that's multiplicative on those mods. If you have Beyond spawns, more tightly packed mobs means more Beyonds, and you can kind of get the idea here. It is just going to be so much more juicy of the maps that you are going to run, okay? So this will be huge. More monsters, the maps will feel more alive, they'll feel more dense, and you know, when you're focus farming, like, you know, everyone has like different tabs for the different map regions now. When you're focus farming, you can just spam the sextants on there if you're going after one conqueror specific. So this is S tier change. When they fix it, it's gonna be amazing, okay? This one's only a bug if you play SSF. If you migrate over, sometimes it can brick your Atlas. I think a couple other streamers I know have had this happen, and that sucks. If you don't migrate from SSF, this doesn't really apply to you. So hopefully they fix that soon as well. Okay, this is a big one especially for trade leagues, because legions are one of the most OP things in the game. If you are juicing in terms of using inspired or headhunter stuff, you're gonna get a massive influx of stacks of headhunter buffs. It is a massive amount of loot. It got buffed along with Cassie from Blight League to where whenever you killed a legion, you would notice so many drops. So many incubators are finally dropping, right? A lot of splinters. You know, I was selling the Templar ones for 1 exalt, 1.1 exalt. Marikath more than that. Even the Viper Nazi girl, the whale splinters, those would be, you know, 70 plus C. So they are big money. And this crash is horrible. Basically what happens is when you touch a pylon, if the pylon has like little purple tendrils shooting in 1 or 2 directions, that means there's 1 or 2 generals in that direction. Great, right? Because the generals are guaranteed to drop a ton of splinters, and they're guaranteed to drop like probably like some loot, maybe, right? Right now, if you break out this doesn't happen to everyone, but for most people, when you unlock the general, meaning you break it out of its shell so that it spawns when the timer is up, or when you clear the whole legion encounter, it will crash your game to the desktop. For me, 100% of the time, it will happen, okay? And this is horrible because let's say you have a legion that spawns and half is on one side, half is on the other side, and you clear half of the legion, great, you get half your loot, but the general's at the end and it crashes you. You're not going to be able to get back into that map in time to clear the other half. So what I've been doing is I've been cleaning the trash and then the general, right? Because if I crash, I still get all the monsters when I re-enter. Another fix that you can do for this currently as a workaround, I will show that again here, is when you're about to unlock the general, and this works a lot better for damage over time or minor builds or builds where you can control exactly when the damage is going to go off, is as you see the general about to unlock, break out of its shell, you can hit your G button and bring up the Atlas. Okay, you can bring up a screen here, and as long as the animation of the breakout of the general doesn't play, you will not crash. So you can kill the general, shoot him, and then bring this up, boom, and then as he unlocks, you will not crash. You take it back off, now you can fight the general. That is one workaround that you can try. It works in every single time that I've tested. It has worked. So if you want to use Legion, if you're buying Legion scares for the cheap prices that they are right now, you can try that. Not an elegant fix, but that will be a huge benefit later. And especially because Legion is so much money, but it's also so much fun, right? Like Legion, like it's great to see a league encounter that's finally so rewarding, just like we knew back in the actual Legion league. And then this will enable you to run, like, you know, maybe use the Legion Scarab and then you run Beyond, and now you can have a mix and match. And crashing to desktop is never good, because if you lose your mini map as well, so let's say you're doing a map that you're not used to the layout, you're gonna forget where you went. It's a very inefficient, right? Convert, this one is I think this is maybe a standard problem or something like that. I don't really know what this does. Converting map button is broken. Okay, hopefully they fix the tab, because people have to pay money for that tab. That'd be great, but not really a big effect for those of us in the trade leagues. Okay, Orb of Horizons and Harbinger. I haven't used Harbinger Orbs, but Orb of Horizons is like broken right now to the point where if you Orb of Horizon a T16 map, it's pretty much going to be a promenade. There's like, I think there's like 3 choices, but I ended up with like 50 to 80 promenades when I was Horizon Orbing the bad T16s that I did not want to run, like a lot of the natural ones. And it's pretty hilarious. And this is a double-edged sword. It is good and bad. It's good because if you have like shitty maps on your 14 to 16 Atlas, right, your Awakening level 8, it's very easy, extremely easy and cheap to turn your bad layout maps that you hate running into a map that you might run, like a grotto, you know, a waterways, a promenade, right? Things like this. And so, and that's fantastic, right? However, it does limit your pool. I would much rather have a overall average increase in Horizon Orb usage per like switch to a good map and have a whole pool so it can pull from the whole Atlas. And that's probably what's going to happen, right? So when you have a T14 to 16 Atlas, Awakening level 8, when you use the Orb of Horizons, it'll probably, if you Orb of Horizons to 14, hopefully it'll turn into any other tier 14, 15 into any other tier 15, and 16 into any other tier 16 on the Atlas. That would be great just for variety, because I really love the variety mapping these days. It's pretty good. It adds a little bit of freshness to the game, and that's fantastic. Okay, but right now, buy Horizon Orbs if you want to take advantage of this bug where it's easier and cheaper on average to convert a non-desirable layout run for your build into a good layout, okay, for the maps of any tier. This is pretty bad because my next build is Cast on Crit Assassin. Now, Awakened Cast on Crit is a very expensive gem, hard to drop because I think that the Awakened gems are weighted from the Conquerors and from the Awakener. So Awakened Cast on Crit applies a 0.15 cooldown, I think, to the Cyclone, where if you right click and tap your Cyclone, there'll be a 0.15 second cooldown before you can use it again. Doesn't matter if you're holding down the button, okay? That's really, really important, because if you hold down the Cyclone, you're totally fine. It's just when you have to, like, when you're tippy tapping the Cyclone, that might be a little bit bugged and you might have some issues, but it's still playable. I've seen people play it up to like 95, 96 without any issues, so you're totally fine. The whale side area, sometimes you encounter multiple zones in a set of maps, and you go in one exit, you come out the other one. You go in one entrance, you end up in another part of the map. It's a mess, and lots of people are avoiding the side areas because of this. I still do them because they can drop the demon, and sack frags for later use might be nice. And haven't had too many of these brokens, but early in the league, this was like a huge issue. Now it is not so much. And if you skip the whale side areas in your maps, doesn't really matter. Volatile Dead, something's not removed, so you're gonna end up with a ton of balls on the screen. You can see Reddit posts screenshots of this, kind of annoying, but you know, nothing too game breaking, right? This one, the player's getting stuck in the Metamorph vat. So for this one, when you spawn the Metamorph in the actual laboratory, the vat disappears. If you stand in that place when it reappears, like a few seconds after killing the Metamorph, it will lock you into place, and then the vat will prevent you from moving. Now, this is solvable 2 ways. First, you can flame dash out of it or use a movement skill to get out of the vat, and you won't be trapped anymore. And then the second way is that you can actually bring in multiple sets of organs, and if you bring in multiple sets of organs, then when you hit the vat again, when it reappears, you can just spawn another Metamorph, and then you will be free of the vat, and you will no longer be trapped, right? And then the last one is nobody should be slow enough for this to apply. So these are basically the changes that are coming. I'm gonna guess right now it is Saturday, right? And so New Year's is on Wednesday. So they're probably gonna be back in the office around Wednesday. Wednesday is a pretty usual time for patches for them. So by the end of next week, I anticipate that all these bugs will be in a big hotfix. If you're on Steam, you might want to be careful because Steam downloads are notoriously large, and I'm guessing this will be well over 1 gig. So, but it's super exciting, and they're kind of targeting, you know, the biggest problems of the league right now. This is kind of preventing us from juicing our maps as much as we want and playing kind of the way that we want to. But once it's fixed, the league's gonna be a lot better. Okay, so that's my video. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me on my Twitch stream, and that's about it. Okay, bye guys, bye.